The night sky over Colony 17 was clear and beautiful. Stars stretched across the darkness like diamonds scattered on black cloth. A young girl named Lena stood on the metal walkway outside her home, staring up at the infinite space above her. She was only 14 years old, full of wonder and dreams about the universe. Lena loved the stars more than anything. Every night, she would come outside with her small handheld light and watch the sky. She imagined brave explorers traveling between worlds. She dreamed of peaceful planets where different species lived together in harmony. The galaxy seemed so vast and beautiful to her innocent eyes. But Lena did not know the truth. She did not know that the galaxy was a dangerous place. She did not know that most alien species saw humans as weak and worthless. And she certainly did not know that tonight would change everything forever. High above the colony, hidden behind dark clouds of empty space, an alien patrol ship drifted silently. Inside the ship, cold blue lights illuminated the bridge. Tall, skeletal creatures with gray skin and black eyes studied the human colony below them. Their fingers were long and sharp. Their voices sounded like grinding metal. The patrol captain stared at the screen showing Lena's small figure on the walkway. His mouth twisted into something like a cruel smile. Humans, he hissed with disgust. So weak. So foolish. They build colonies in open space like children playing games. Another alien officer nodded. They have no real defenses. Their weapons are outdated. They trust the galaxy to leave them alone. The captain laughed, a horrible scraping sound. Then we shall teach them a lesson. We shall remind these humans of their place in the universe. Down on the colony, Lena noticed something strange. A red glow appeared high in the sky, slowly growing brighter. It moved too fast to be a star and too quietly to be a human ship. She frowned, tilting her head in confusion. The red glow stretched out, forming a long, sharp shape against the stars. Lena's heart began to beat faster. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. She pulled out her small wrist communicator and tapped the emergency channel. Her voice shook as she spoke. Hello? Is anyone there? There's something in the sky. Something strange. Inside the colony control center, a tired operator sat at his desk. The screen in front of him suddenly flashed with Lena's signal. He leaned forward, confused and concerned. Lena? What's wrong? Before she could answer, the entire sky split open with a deafening blast. A beam of burning red energy tore down from the alien ship, cutting across the colony grounds like a knife through paper. Buildings exploded into flames. Metal twisted and melted. People screamed in terror as they ran for cover. The ground shook violently under Lena's feet. She stumbled backward, dropping her light. Thick clouds of dust and smoke rose into the air like a dark wave swallowing everything. Lena looked up again, her eyes wide with pure fear. Another beam fired from the alien ship, this time much closer to where she stood. The colony's old defense systems tried to activate, but they were too slow and too weak. Nothing could stop the patrol ship. The aliens did not care about the people below. They did not care about the lives they were destroying. For them, this was just a message. A reminder that humans meant nothing in the galaxy. A demonstration of power against a species they saw as insignificant insects. Lena tried to run. She desperately wanted to reach her home, to find her family. But the ground behind her suddenly exploded in a blast of fire and force. The shock wave lifted her off her feet and threw her forward. She hit the hard metal ground, gasping for air, breathing in dust and smoke. Her wrist communicator crackled with the operator's panicked voice. Lena, are you there? Please respond. Lena pushed herself up on trembling arms, coughing violently. Tears ran down her dirt-covered face. She brought the communicator close to her mouth and whispered with her last bit of strength. Help us. Please. They're attacking. They're killing everyone. Those were the last clear words she spoke. High above, the alien patrol ship charged its final weapon. A massive cannon on the ship's belly began to glow with brilliant white light. The captain gave the order with cold satisfaction. Fire. A beam of pure white energy cut through the night like a falling star. It struck directly where Lena stood, and in an instant, everything went silent. The wrist communicator fell to the scorched ground, cracked and broken. The signal cut out completely. Back in the control center, the operator stared at his silent screen in horror, listening only to empty static. Lena was gone. Far away on Earth, deep beneath layers of rock and steel, an ancient alarm suddenly activated. The sound echoed through a forgotten command bunker that had been silent for decades. Red warning lights flashed across walls covered in dust. Old machines that had not moved in years suddenly came to life with a low, powerful hum. A computer system dormant for so long began processing a signal. The screen flickered and displayed a broken transmission. Then, through waves of static, a young girl's voice filled the empty room. "Help us, please. They're attacking. They're killing everyone." The message played again and again, each repetition cutting deeper into the silence. Within minutes, military commanders rushed into the bunker. Their faces were hard and serious as they watched the screens. The footage showed everything. The burning colony. The screaming civilians. The alien ship hovering above like a predator. And finally, the white beam that ended Lena's life. The room fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They simply stared at the place where a 14-year-old girl had stood moments before she was murdered. Then the highest-ranking officer stepped forward. His name was Commander Aaron Hale. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many wars. His jaw clenched tight as he watched Lena's final moments replay on the screen. "They killed a child," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "They murdered a human child." Another officer spoke quietly from behind him. "Sir, the alien species responsible is the Kael'thar Empire. They've been expanding their territory for years. They see humans as weak, inferior." Aaron's hands curled into fists at his sides. His whole body trembled, not with fear, but with a deep, burning rage that had been sleeping for decades. "Weak?" he repeated softly. "They think we're weak?" The room seemed to hold its breath. Something ancient and powerful stirred in the air around them. Aaron turned to face his officers. His eyes blazed with determination. "How long since we activated Protocol Dawn Rise?" The officers exchanged worried glances. One of them answered carefully. 73 years, sir. Not since the War of Unification." "Then it's time," Aaron said firmly. "Activate Protocol Dawn Rise. Immediately." A young officer's face went pale. "Sir, are you certain? The Armada has been hidden for so long. If we reveal it now, the entire galaxy will know our true strength." Aaron stepped closer to the screen showing Lena's destroyed colony. Smoke still rose from the ruins. Bodies lay scattered across the ground. "They've already made their choice," he said coldly. "They chose to show us that human lives mean nothing to them. Now we will show them what happens when they hurt one of our own." He turned back to his officers, his voice rising with authority. "Send the activation codes. Wake every ship. Power every weapon. Prepare every soldier." The galaxy wanted to see humanity respond. Now they will witness what we truly are. The officers saluted and rushed to their stations. Fingers flew across keyboards. Encrypted messages shot out across hidden channels, traveling through space at incredible speeds. Deep in the most remote regions of the galaxy, in places no alien had ever explored, something massive began to stir. In a dark sector of space, far from any inhabited system, enormous metal doors started to open. They had been sealed for decades, hidden behind stealth fields and gravitational distortions. No alien scanner had ever detected them. No enemy spy had ever found them. The doors opened slowly, revealing a chamber the size of a small moon. Inside, hundreds of warships rested in perfect rows, like sleeping giants waiting to be called. These were not the small patrol ships the galaxy knew about. These were vessels built with Earth's most advanced secret technology. Their hulls were dark as midnight, covered in armor that could withstand planet-destroying weapons. Their engines glowed with blue energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Their weapon systems carried firepower that could crack moons in half. This was humanity's hidden armada. Built in secret over decades. Kept dark and silent while Earth played the role of a peaceful, weak species in galactic politics. Every ship carried the memory of lessons learned from centuries of human warfare. Every system had been perfected through years of careful engineering. And now, after 73 years of sleep, they were waking up. One by one, the ship's systems activated. Lights flickered on across their massive frames. Engines hummed to life, sending vibrations through the void of space. Inside each vessel, automated systems began running through startup sequences. Weapons charged. Shields powered up. Navigation computers locked onto coordinates. The largest ship in the center of the formation was different from all the others. It was twice the size of any other vessel, built like a fortress that could move through space. Its name was written across the hull in bold white letters. HSF Revenant. This was the flagship. The command ship. And it was waiting for one man. Back on Earth, Aaron Hale walked through the launch facility. His boots echoed on metal floors. Soldiers saluted as he passed. He acknowledged them with a nod but never stopped moving. His mind was focused on one thing only: justice. He entered a transport pod that would take him to orbit. The doors sealed shut, and the pod rocketed upward through a tunnel carved deep in the earth. It shot through rock, through steel barriers, through layers of security, until finally it burst into space. When the pod doors opened, Aaron saw the hidden Armada spread across the stars before him. Hundreds of massive warships floated in perfect formation, their engines glowing like blue stars. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. A force the galaxy had never seen. A power they never knew existed. Aaron's jaw tightened. "For Lena?" he whispered. The Revenant's bay doors opened, accepting his pod. As he stepped onto the bridge of the flagship, officers stood at attention. The ship's AI spoke in a calm, clear voice. "Welcome aboard, Commander Hale. All systems active. The Armada awaits your orders." Aaron walked to the command chair and sat down slowly. He stared out at the fleet before him. Then he spoke 3 words that would change the galaxy forever. "Take us to war." The hidden Armada moved through space like a silent storm. Hundreds of warships traveled in perfect formation, their dark hulls almost invisible against the black void. Their engines burned with blue fire, leaving trails of light that stretched for millions of miles. No alarm sounded. No warning was given. Humanity was done talking. On the bridge of the Revenant, Commander Aaron Hale stood with his arms behind his back, watching the stars pass by on the massive viewscreen. His face showed no emotion, but inside, a fire burned hot and steady. The image of Lena's final moments played over and over in his mind. A child. An innocent girl who loved the stars. Murdered without mercy. The ship's AI spoke softly. "Commander, we are approaching the Kael'thar border. Their defense stations are detecting our presence." Aaron nodded once. "Let them see us. I want them to know we're coming." Across the Kael'thar Empire, panic spread like wildfire. Military commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. Hundreds of unknown signals were moving toward their territory. The ships were massive, far larger than any human vessels they had seen before. And they were moving fast. Impossibly fast. In the Kael'thar capital city, emergency meetings were called. Ministers and generals gathered in a great hall with high ceilings and cold stone walls. Their gray faces showed confusion and fear. The Kael'thar had always been the hunters, never the prey. Now something was hunting them. "Who are these ships?" one minister demanded, his voice shaking. "Where did they come from?" A military general studied the tactical display. "The signals originated from Earth. But this is impossible. Humans don't have this kind of fleet. We've monitored them for years. They're weak. Peaceful." Another general slammed his fist on the table. "Then explain those ships. Explain how they appeared from nowhere." Before anyone could answer, a communication signal forced its way through all their channels. Every screen in the room flickered and changed. The face of Commander Aaron Hale appeared, stern and cold as ice. The room fell silent. The Kael'thar leaders had never seen this human before, but they could feel the dangerous power in his eyes. "People of the Kael'thar Empire," Aaron began, his voice steady and clear. "You murdered one of our children. Her name was Lena. She was 14 years old. She loved the stars. She believed the galaxy was a place of hope and peace." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You destroyed that belief. You destroyed her. And now you will answer for what you have done." A Kael'thar minister found his voice. "This is outrageous. One human death does not justify an act of war. We are a powerful empire. You cannot threaten us." Aaron's expression did not change. "We are not threatening you. We are informing you. Your patrol ship committed murder. The captain who gave the order will face justice. If you resist, your entire fleet will fall. Choose wisely." The transmission ended abruptly. The Kael'thar leaders sat in stunned silence. Then chaos erupted. Voices shouted over each other. Some demanded they prepare for battle. Others urged caution. Fear filled the room like poisonous gas. The head general stood up, his face twisted with anger and pride. "We will not bow to humans. Activate the defense fleet. Show them that the Kael'thar Empire does not surrender." Within hours, the Kael'thar assembled their largest military force in decades. Hundreds of warships gathered at their border, forming a defensive wall in space. Their hulls were painted red and black, covered in sharp edges and weapon ports. These ships had conquered dozens of weaker species. The Kael'thar were confident in their strength. But as they waited in formation, their sensors detected the approaching human fleet. And slowly that confidence began to crack. The human armada emerged from faster-than-light travel like ghosts materializing from darkness. One moment, space was empty. The next, hundreds of massive ships filled the void. They were enormous, dwarfing even the largest Kael'thar vessels. Their dark armor seemed to absorb light itself. On the Kael'thar flagship, the admiral stared at his screen in growing horror. How many ships do they have? Readings show 547 vessels, sir, an officer reported, his voice trembling. All of them heavily armed. Their energy signatures are off our measurement scales. The admiral's hands gripped the armrests of his chair. Impossible. Humans don't have this technology. They can't have kept this secret. But they had. For 73 years, humanity had built and hidden this fleet. While the galaxy saw them as peaceful and weak, Earth had been preparing for the day when someone would push them too far. Commander Aaron gave a simple order. Open a channel to their admiral. The Kael'thar admiral's face appeared on the screen. He tried to look brave, but his eyes betrayed his fear. Human commander, you are making a terrible mistake. Our empire has stood for 1,000 years. Turn back now and we may show mercy. Aaron's voice was cold as ice in space. Your patrol ship showed no mercy to Lena. Your captain showed no mercy when he fired on defenseless civilians. Why should we show mercy to you? The Kael'thar admiral's face turned darker gray. That patrol captain acted without authorization. We will punish him ourselves. There is no need for war. Where is he? Aaron demanded. Where is the captain who murdered a child? Silence. The Kael'thar admiral looked away from the screen. Aaron's eyes narrowed. You're protecting him. You're hiding him behind your fleet, hoping we'll forget. Hoping we'll back down. He leaned forward. We will not forget. We will not back down. Hand over the captain, or we will come through your entire fleet to get him. The Kael'thar admiral's face twisted with rage and fear. You dare threaten the Kael'thar Empire? We have fought wars across the galaxy. We have crushed species stronger than you. Aaron's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Then you've never fought humans who are truly angry. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Target their flagship. One shot. Make it precise. The officer's fingers flew across his controls. Target locked, sir. Fire. A single beam of concentrated energy shot from the Revenant's main cannon. It was blue-white, brilliant as a newborn star. The beam crossed the distance between fleets in less than a second. It struck the shield of the Kael'thar flagship dead center. The shield held for exactly 2 seconds. Then it shattered like glass. The beam continued through, punching a hole straight through the flagship's armor. Sparks and fire exploded from the wound. The entire Kael'thar fleet watched in shock as their most powerful ship was crippled with one shot. Inside the Kael'thar flagship, alarm screamed. The admiral grabbed his chair as the ship shook violently. Damage report. Main power offline. Weapons systems destroyed. Hull breaches on 17 decks. The admiral's face went pale. One shot. One single shot had nearly destroyed his ship. Aaron's voice came through every speaker in the Kael'thar fleet. That was a warning. The next shot will not miss your bridge. Hand over the captain who killed Lena. You have 1 hour. Across the Kael'thar fleet, panic spread. Captains looked at each other with wide eyes. Soldiers whispered in fear. They had seen the power of just one human ship. There were 546 more waiting behind it. The Kael'thar admiral sat in his damaged chair, smoke filling his bridge. His hands shook as he realized the terrible truth. Humanity had been hiding, watching, waiting. And now they had revealed themselves as something the galaxy had never expected. Apex predators. The hour passed in agonizing silence. The Kael'thar fleet floated in space, surrounded by humanity's massive armada. Inside their ships, crews whispered nervously. Some checked their escape pods. Others prayed to their ancient gods. Everyone understood that something had changed in the galaxy. The balance of power had shifted. On the damaged Kael'thar flagship, the admiral sat alone in his darkened bridge. Emergency lights cast red shadows across his face. Around him, officers worked frantically to repair critical systems. But the admiral barely noticed them. His mind was racing through impossible choices. If he surrendered the patrol captain, he would appear weak. The Kael'thar Empire prided itself on strength and dominance. Giving in to human demands would shame them across the galaxy. But if he refused, the human fleet would attack. And after witnessing what one shot had done to his flagship, he knew his entire fleet would be destroyed. A communication officer approached hesitantly. Admiral, the deadline approaches. The humans are waiting for your response. The admiral closed his eyes. In his long military career, he had conquered 17 worlds. He had defeated countless enemies. But he had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that had hidden its true power so perfectly. An enemy driven not by conquest, but by justice for a murdered child. Finally, he opened his eyes and spoke quietly. "Bring me Captain Vexthor. Now." Minutes later, guards dragged the patrol captain onto the bridge. Vexthor was tall and thin even for a Kael'thar. His face showed arrogance mixed with confusion. "Admiral, what is the meaning of this? Why am I being detained?" The admiral stood slowly, his movements heavy with exhaustion and shame. "Captain Vexthor, you are hereby charged with unauthorized attack on a civilian human colony. You murdered innocent people including a child. And now your actions have brought war to our empire." Vexthor's face twisted with anger. "I did what the empire has always done. We show strength. We remind lesser species of their place. The humans are weak and pathetic. The admiral's hand struck Vexthor across the face, silencing him instantly. "The humans have 500 ships surrounding us. Ships more powerful than anything we've ever built. Because of you, because of your cruelty, we are all about to die." Vexthor's arrogance finally cracked. His eyes widened with fear as he understood. "You're going to give me to them?" "I have no choice," the admiral said bitterly. "Your pride has doomed us all." He turned to his communication officer. "Open a channel to the human commander." Commander Aaron Hale's face appeared on the screen as cold and unmoved as before. "Your time is up, Admiral." The Kael'thar admiral straightened his uniform, trying to maintain some dignity. "We have the captain responsible for the attack on Colony 17. We are prepared to hand him over to you for judgment." Aaron studied the admiral's face carefully. "And the rest of your crew who participated in the attack?" The admiral hesitated, then nodded. "All 12 members of the patrol ship crew will be surrendered." "Good," Aaron said. "Transfer them to a shuttle. Send it to the Revenant. Unarmed and unescorted. If you try anything at all, we will interpret it as an act of war." "Understood," the admiral replied quietly. Within 30 minutes, a small Kael'thar shuttle left the fleet. Inside were Captain Vexthor and his crew, all shackled and surrounded by guards. The shuttle drifted slowly toward the massive human flagship. As it approached, the Revenant's bay doors opened like the mouth of a great beast, swallowing the small craft completely. Across both fleets, everyone watched and waited. The tension was unbearable. Inside the Revenant's hangar bay, Commander Aaron Hale stood waiting with a security team. The shuttle landed with a soft thud. Its doors opened and Kael'thar guards marched the prisoners out. Captain Vexthor was first, his head held high despite his chains, still clinging to his pride. Aaron stepped forward and looked directly into Vexthor's black eyes. For a long moment neither spoke. Then Aaron's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Do you know her name?" Vexthor blinked in confusion. "Whose name?" "The girl you murdered. Do you even know her name?" Vexthor's face showed nothing but contempt. "Why would I know the name of a human child? They are beneath us. Insignificant." Aaron's jaw clenched, but his voice remained steady. "Her name was Lena. She was 14 years old. She loved watching the stars. She believed the galaxy was full of hope." He stepped closer to Vexthor. "And you burned her alive without a second thought." Vexthor actually smiled, a cruel expression that showed his pointed teeth. "She was weak. Her colony was weak. In this galaxy the weak die. That is the natural order." Aaron stared at him for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly to his security chief. "Take them to the brig. They will stand trial for murder. Every member of the galaxy will witness their judgment." As the prisoners were led away, Vexthor shouted back over his shoulder. "You think you've won, human? You think showing your fleet changes anything? The Kael'thar Empire will not forget this insult. We will." Aaron's voice cut through his threats like ice. "The Kael'thar Empire will learn to fear the consequences of their cruelty. Or the Kael'thar Empire will cease to exist. The choice is yours." The prisoners disappeared into the ship's depths. Aaron stood alone in the hangar, his fists clenched at his sides. Justice had been served, but it felt hollow. Lena was still dead. Colony 17 was still in ruins. Families were still mourning their lost children. Back on the bridge, Aaron addressed his fleet. "This is Commander Hale. We have secured the murderers of Lena and the civilians of Colony 17. They will face trial. But our mission is not complete." He paused, his eyes hard as steel. "Send a message to every corner of the galaxy. To every species, every empire, every world. The message is simple. Humanity will no longer tolerate attacks on our people. Any species that harms a human civilian will answer to us. Any empire that supports such actions will face our armada. We were peaceful because we chose to be, not because we were weak. That choice can be revoked. The message was broadcast across all frequencies. Within hours, it reached every inhabited system in the galaxy. Alien leaders listened with growing fear. The mysterious human armada was real. The peaceful, weak humans had been hiding incredible power all along. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from dozens of species gathered in emergency session. The grand hall was filled with worried voices and frightened faces. The humans had never been part of the council. They had been dismissed as too young, too emotional, too insignificant. Now everything had changed. The council leader, an ancient being from a species called the Zetharians, called for silence. The humans have revealed a military force none of us anticipated. They have demonstrated technology superior to our own. And they have delivered a clear warning. What should our response be? A representative from the Horathi species stood, his 4 arms gesturing frantically. We should unite against them. This is a threat to galactic order. Humanity cannot be allowed to dictate terms. But another representative, a wise elder from the peaceful Luminari people, shook her head. The humans did not attack without cause. One of their children was murdered. They seek only justice, not conquest. Perhaps we should listen to their message instead of fearing it. Arguments erupted across the chamber. Some species wanted war. Others urged diplomacy. A few quietly began calculating how to ally themselves with humanity before others did. Meanwhile, aboard the Revenant, Aaron received reports from Earth. The human population had learned about Lena's death and the Armada's revelation. Cities across Earth held candlelight vigils for the murdered girl. Millions of people stood in silent tribute, holding lights toward the sky, honoring a child they had never met but would never forget. Aaron watched footage of the vigils on his private screen. Tears gathered in his eyes, though he did not let them fall. We will not fail you, Lena, he whispered to the image. The galaxy will remember your name. And they will learn that every human life matters. A tactical officer interrupted his thoughts. Commander, we're receiving multiple signals from various species. Some are requesting diplomatic meetings. Others are offering alliances. A few are apologizing for past actions against human colonies. Aaron almost smiled. Fear had accomplished what decades of peaceful diplomacy could not. Acknowledge all messages. But make our position clear. We will meet with anyone who approaches us with respect and genuine intent. But we will destroy anyone who threatens human lives. The galaxy had awakened to a new reality. Humanity was no longer the weak, peaceful species to be ignored or exploited. They were a force to be feared, respected, and perhaps befriended. But in the darkness between stars, other powers were watching. Ancient species that had remained hidden for millennia. And they saw humanity's rise with very different eyes. Something old and dangerous was stirring. And it was about to make itself known. 3 days after humanity's armada revealed itself, the galaxy remained in chaos. Trade routes were disrupted as ships refused to leave port. Diplomatic channels burned with urgent messages. Alien species that had fought each other for centuries suddenly found common ground in their fear of humanity's hidden power. But on Earth, in the command bunker where it all began, something unexpected happened. An ancient signal reached the planet's communication arrays. It was not from any known species. The signal bypassed every security system as if they did not exist. It appeared on every screen in the bunker simultaneously. The signal contained only coordinates and a single phrase in perfect English: humanity must listen. The stars remember what you have forgotten. Commander Aaron Hale, who had returned to Earth to oversee the tribunal of Captain Vex Thor, stood in the command center staring at the message. Around him, technicians frantically tried to trace the signal's origin. But every attempt failed. The message seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Sir, what should we do?" asked his second-in-command, Colonel Sarah Chin. This could be a trap. Aaron studied the coordinates. They pointed to a region of space known as the Void Sector, an area where no stars existed, only darkness. No species had ever explored it. Ships that ventured too close reported equipment failures and strange readings. Most avoided it entirely. It could be a trap, Aaron agreed. But whoever sent this message bypassed our most advanced security without effort. If they wanted to harm us, they already could have. He turned to Colonel Chin. Prepare a small fleet. 5 ships including the Revenant. We go to these coordinates. Sir, the Galactic Council has requested a meeting. They want to discuss humanity's new position in. They can wait, Aaron interrupted. For decades they ignored us. They dismissed us. Now they can learn patience while we investigate this. 2 days later, the small human fleet arrived at the void sector. Space here was different. Wrong somehow. The normal stars seemed dim and distant. Darkness pressed against their ships like water against a submarine. Sensors gave confused readings. Some instruments showed nothing. Others showed everything. This place feels dead, whispered a young officer on the Revenant's bridge. But Aaron felt something else. Not death. Something ancient and aware. Something watching them. Take us to the exact coordinates, he ordered. As they approached the location, space itself seemed to shimmer. Reality bent like heat waves rising from hot metal. Then, without warning, an enormous structure appeared. It had been invisible moments before, but now it dominated their view screens. The structure was a station, but unlike anything humanity had ever built. It was organic and mechanical at the same time. Parts of it looked grown rather than constructed. Massive columns of crystal extended from a central sphere that pulsed with soft golden light. The station was ancient. Impossibly ancient. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission," the communication officer said, her voice shaking. "Put it through." A voice filled the bridge. It was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It sounded like wine through caves, like distant thunder, like whispered secrets. "Welcome, children of Earth. We have waited long to speak with you." Aaron straightened in his command chair. "Who are you?" "We are the ancients, the first builders. We existed before your world formed its first oceans. We watched your species emerge from caves and reach for the stars. And we have seen the choice you now face." The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. The ancients were legends, stories told by the oldest alien species. Beings who had supposedly seeded life across the galaxy billions of years ago, then vanished. No one believed they were real. "Why contact us now?" Aaron asked carefully. "Because you have awakened something that should have remained sleeping. When the child Lena died, when your rage and sorrow echoed across space, you disturbed a balance that has held for eons." Aaron's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" The golden light in the station pulsed brighter. "There are forces in this universe older than the ancients. Forces that feed on suffering, on violence, on death. For millions of years, we have kept them sealed away, starving them, preventing them from consuming all life. But strong emotions can weaken those seals. And nothing is stronger than a species united in grief and rage." Colonel Chin stepped forward. "Are you saying we shouldn't have responded to Lena's murder? That we should have let her killers go unpunished?" "No," the ancient voice replied gently. "Justice is the foundation of civilization. But your demonstration of force, your anger broadcast across the galaxy, has fed something terrible. The Void-born is stirring." "The Void-born?" Aaron repeated. "A creature of pure entropy. A being that exists only to consume life and light, reducing everything to cold darkness. Eons ago we fought a war against it. We could not kill it, so we imprisoned it in a dimension between realities. But the seal weakens when negative emotions flood the galaxy. Or hatred, fear. Your justified anger may have broken the final lock." Silence filled the bridge. Outside the view screen, the darkness of the void sector seemed to press closer, as if listening. Aaron's voice was steady despite the weight of what he was hearing. "What can we do?" "You have two choices," the ancient said. "You can continue your path. Punish those who wronged you. Show the galaxy your strength. Establish yourselves as a dominant power. But this path will feed the Void-born. Eventually it will break free and consume everything including Earth." "And the second choice?" Aaron asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Mercy. Forgiveness. Show the galaxy that strength does not require cruelty. Prove that justice can exist without vengeance. The Void-born feeds on darkness. It starves on compassion." Colonel Chen's face hardened. "You're asking us to let Lena's murderers go free?" "No. Justice must be served. But how you serve it matters. A public execution will spread fear and hatred across the galaxy. Those emotions will strengthen the Void-born. But a trial, a demonstration that even the powerful can show mercy to the guilty, that would starve the creature. Weaken it. Perhaps seal it again." Aaron stood and walked to the view screen, staring into the darkness beyond. His mind was torn. Everything in him wanted to destroy the Kael'thar who had killed Lena. He wanted them to suffer as she had suffered. He wanted the galaxy to fear humanity's wrath so deeply that no one would ever harm another human child again. But at what cost? If the ancient spoke truth, his vengeance could doom billions of innocent lives across the galaxy. Commander, Colonel Chin said quietly, we don't know if this being is telling the truth. It could be manipulating us. I know, Aaron replied. But consider this. If it wanted to manipulate us, why reveal itself at all? Why not let us continue on our path and watch the Void-born destroy everything? What would it gain from lying? Before anyone could answer, the station's golden light suddenly turned red. The ancient's voice returned, now urgent and frightened. It is too late. It has begun. The Void-born is breaking through. Alarms erupted across the bridge. Sensors detected a massive distortion in space, not far from their position. Reality itself seemed to tear open like fabric ripping apart. Through the tear, absolute darkness poured forth. Not the darkness of empty space but something deeper. Something alive and hungry. Sir, we need to leave, the navigation officer shouted. That thing is expanding rapidly. But Aaron stared at the growing tear in space, mesmerized and horrified. He could feel it somehow. A cold, ancient intelligence that noticed him. That saw him. That recognized humanity as the species whose emotions had awakened it. A whisper crawled through his mind, bypassing his ears entirely. Thank you, human. Your anger has freed me. Now I will consume your world first. Aaron's hands gripped the armrests of his chair. Weapons officer, target that tear. Full power. Fire everything we have. Sir, we don't know if weapons will. Fire. The Revenant and its escort ships unleashed their full arsenals. Blue beams of concentrated energy, missiles, plasma torpedoes, everything struck the expanding darkness. For a moment it seemed to work. The darkness recoiled slightly. But then it surged forward, larger than before. The weapons had only made it angry. The ancient's voice filled the bridge one last time. You cannot fight it with force alone. Only unity can defeat the Void-born. Unity of purpose. Unity of species. Humanity must lead the galaxy not through fear but through hope. Only then will the light be strong enough to push back the darkness. The golden station began to fade, becoming transparent. We do not have much time left. Our power is almost spent. The choice is yours, Commander Hale. Will you unite the galaxy or watch it fall? The station vanished completely. The human fleet was alone in the void sector, facing a tear in reality that grew larger with each passing second. And through that tear, something vast and terrible was about to emerge. Aaron looked at his crew. Their faces showed fear but also determination. They were waiting for his orders. Waiting for him to lead them. He thought of Lena. Of her smile as she watched the stars. Of her belief that the galaxy was full of hope. If he gave in to vengeance, he would prove her wrong. He would show that the galaxy was only darkness and cruelty. But if he chose differently, send a message to Earth, Aaron commanded, his voice firm. And broadcast it to every species in the galaxy. Humanity needs allies. All who value life, all who oppose the darkness, join us. Not as servants or subjects, but as equals. We face a threat that will destroy us all unless we stand together. Colonel Chin stared at him in shock. Sir, you're offering them alliance? After everything they've done? Aaron met her eyes. I'm giving them a choice. The same choice the Ancient gave us. They can continue fighting each other and feed the darkness. Or they can stand with us and fight for the light. He turned back to the view screen, watching the darkness grow. And God help us all if they choose wrong. The message was sent. And across the galaxy it was received. Now humanity would learn if the stars were full of enemies or allies. The answer would determine the fate of all life in the universe. The message from Commander Aaron Hale spread across the galaxy like fire across dry grass. Every species, every world, every station received it simultaneously. The transmission was simple and direct, translated into thousands of languages by Earth's advanced AI systems. This is Commander Aaron Hale of the Human Armada. We face a threat beyond politics, beyond territory, beyond old grudges. An ancient evil called the Void-born is breaking free from its prison. It will consume all life, all light, all hope. Humanity cannot stop it alone. No single species can. We must stand together or we will fall separately. Those who join us, meet at the following coordinates. Bring your ships. Bring your courage. Come ready to fight for existence itself. The response was not what anyone expected. In the Kael'thar Empire, the very species that had murdered Lena, a great debate raged. The military leaders argued for isolation. Why should we help the humans? They humiliated us. They took our warriors prisoner. But an old Kael'thar scientist stood and spoke words that silenced the room. Because if the Void-born is real, our pride means nothing. Our empire means nothing. Everything we have built will turn to dust. The humans offer us not forgiveness but survival. We should take it. After hours of heated argument, the Kael'thar made their choice. 50 warships departed for the coordinates. Their admiral sent a brief message to Aaron. We come not as friends but as survivors. If you lie about this threat, we will remember. If you speak truth, perhaps we can build something new. Across the galaxy, similar conversations happened. The peaceful Luminari, who had always advocated for harmony, sent their entire fleet without hesitation. The warlike Harathi, who had threatened war against humanity days earlier, debated longer but eventually decided to send 30 ships. The wise Zetharians, the oldest members of the Galactic Council, sent 100 vessels along with their advanced technology specialists. But not everyone answered the call. Some species refused, believing it was a human trick to gather enemies in one place and destroy them. Others were too afraid to act. A few tried to use the chaos to expand their own territories, attacking weakened neighbors while attention was elsewhere. On the Revenant, Aaron watched the incoming reports. Ships were arriving at the rally point, a neutral star system called Haven's Rest. The numbers grew slowly at first, then faster. Within 2 days, over 300 ships from dozens of species gathered in formation. Colonel Chin approached Aaron with a data pad. Sir, we have representatives from 27 different species. Many of them have been at war with each other for centuries. There have already been 3 incidents of violence between crews on different ships. Aaron closed his eyes briefly. Assign human peacekeepers to patrol the neutral zones. Make it clear that anyone who fights their old enemies instead of our common one will be removed from the fleet. And if they refuse? Then they can watch the galaxy die from a safe distance. The command was harsh but necessary. There was no time for old hatred. The tear in the void sector was growing. Long-range sensors showed it expanding at an increasing rate. Whatever was coming through was almost free. Aaron called a meeting of all fleet commanders. The Revenant's main conference hall was massive, designed to hold large gatherings. Now it filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Kael'thar stood beside Luminari. Harathi warriors stood uncomfortably close to the Zetharian elders they had fought generations ago. Humans moved among them all, serving as neutral mediators. When everyone had gathered, Aaron entered the room. Silence fell immediately. Every eye turned to him. Some looked with respect. Others with suspicion. A few with barely hidden hatred. But they all listened. I know many of you do not trust humanity, Aaron began, his voice carrying across the hall. I know some of you believe this is a trick. I know others came only because you fear what happens if you don't. He paused, looking at each group in turn. I don't care why you came. Only that you did. He activated a holographic display. The void sector appeared, showing the growing tear in space. The image made several aliens gasp. The darkness looked wrong, unnatural, like a wound in reality itself. This is what we face, Aaron continued. The ancients called it the Void-born. A creature older than most civilizations. It feeds on death, on suffering, on negative emotions. Every war we fight, every act of cruelty, every moment of hatred makes it stronger. A Harathi commander stood, his massive frame towering over others. You say we feed it by fighting. Yet you gathered the largest war fleet in recent history. You threatened entire empires. How is that different? Aaron met his gaze steadily. You're right. My anger, my desire for vengeance helped wake this thing. I take responsibility for that. But I'm also choosing differently now. I could have executed Lena's murderers in front of the galaxy. I could have destroyed the Kael'thar fleet. Instead, I'm standing here, asking former enemies to become allies. The Kael'thar admiral who had surrendered Captain Vexthor stood slowly. The room tensed. Many expected him to attack Aaron. Instead, he bowed his head slightly. The human commander speaks truth. My species committed a terrible crime. We killed an innocent child. By all rights, humanity could have destroyed us. They chose mercy instead. That choice saved my people. Perhaps it can save us all. Murmurs spread through the hall. Seeing a proud Kael'thar bow to a human changed something in the room. Old certainties began to crack. A Luminari representative, her body glowing with soft blue light, spoke next. The question is not who to blame for awakening the Void-born. The question is how to stop it. Does anyone here have knowledge of how the ancients imprisoned it originally? Silence. No one knew. The ancients had left no instructions, no manual for fighting primordial darkness. Then a Zetharian elder, so old his scales had turned pale silver, raised a trembling hand. I know a story. Passed down through 1,000 generations of my people. We thought it was only myth. His ancient eyes looked haunted. The story says the ancients did not fight the Voidborn with weapons. They fought it with unity, with combined will, with the shared determination of a million species standing as one. Aaron leaned forward. How? How do you turn determination into a weapon? The elder shook his head slowly. The story does not say. Only that it required sacrifice. Many gave their lives to power the seal. The ancients themselves diminished greatly, using their own essence to contain the darkness. The room fell quiet as everyone absorbed this. Sacrifice. The word hung heavy in the air. Aaron straightened. Then we find a way. We have the greatest minds from dozens of species here. Human scientists, Zetharian theorists, Luminari energy specialists, Horathi tactical geniuses. We pool our knowledge. We work together. We solve this. A younger Kael'thar officer spoke up, his voice uncertain. And if we cannot? If there is no solution? Aaron's voice was steel. Then we die trying. But we die standing together, not divided and alone. For 3 days the assembled fleet worked frantically. Scientists from different species shared research that had been kept secret for centuries. Humans contributed their advanced AI systems. Zetharians provided ancient texts and forgotten knowledge. Luminari offered their understanding of energy manipulation. Even the warlike Horathi contributed tactical strategies for fighting an enemy that couldn't be killed by conventional means. Slowly, impossibly, a plan began to form. The key was resonance. Every living being generated a unique energy signature. Individually, these signatures were weak, barely detectable. But if millions of beings could synchronize their thoughts, their emotions, their very consciousness, the combined resonance might be powerful enough to affect reality itself. Powerful enough to close the tear. Powerful enough to push the Voidborn back into its prison. But it would require perfect unity. If even a small percentage of participants felt doubt, hatred, or fear, the resonance would fail. And achieving perfect unity among species that had fought each other for millennia seemed impossible. Aaron stood on the Revenant's observation deck, watching the fleet of allied ships floating in formation. So many different designs. So many old enemies now flying side by side. It should have been impossible. Yet here they were. Colonel Chin joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. She offered one to Aaron. Do you think it will work? Aaron took the cup, warming his hands on it. I don't know. But I know we have to try. The scientists say we need at least 10 million conscious beings focused on the same thought at the same moment. We have the numbers, but... She trailed off. But getting everyone to truly unite, to let go of all hatred and fear for even a moment, that's the hard part, Aaron finished. They stood in silence watching the stars. Then Aaron's communicator buzzed. The voice of a sensor officer came through, tight with fear. Commander, the tear is expanding rapidly. Something is coming through. Something massive. Aaron and Chin ran to the bridge. The view screen showed the void sector, and what they saw made their blood freeze. A shape was emerging from the tear. It was impossibly large, dwarfing entire planets. It had no fixed form, constantly shifting and flowing like liquid shadow. Where it moved, stars dimmed and died. Space itself seemed to decay in its presence. The Voidborn was free. And it was heading straight for the gathered fleet. The Voidborn moved through space like a living nightmare. Its form constantly shifted between shapes that hurt to look at directly. Sometimes it appeared as a massive sphere of absolute darkness. Other times it stretched into tentacles that reached across star systems. Reality itself seemed to bend and break around it. On every ship in the Allied fleet, alarms screamed. Sensors went haywire, showing readings that made no sense. Temperature dropping to absolute zero. Energy signatures off all known scales. Gravitational distortions that should have torn planets apart. Commander Aaron Hale stood on the Revenant's bridge, watching the creature approach. His crew looked to him for orders, for hope, for something to believe in. But what could he say? They were facing a being that had existed before stars were born. A creature the ancients themselves could only imprison, not destroy. All ships, battle formation, Aaron commanded, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his heart. Power all weapons. Charge all shields. We make our stand here. Across the fleet, hundreds of ships moved into position. Kael'thar destroyers with their red-black hulls. Luminari cruisers glowing with peaceful blue light. Horathi battleships bristling with weapons. Zetharian science vessels carrying experimental technology. And at the center, humanity's hidden Armada, revealed at last to save not just Earth, but all life. The Voidborn noticed them. A presence pressed against every mind in the fleet. Cold, ancient, hungry. When it spoke, the voice came from inside their thoughts, bypassing ears entirely. Life, light, warmth. I have hungered for so long. Thank you for gathering here. You have made my feeding easier. Aaron gritted his teeth against the mental pressure. All ships fire at will. The combined fleet unleashed everything. Energy beams of every color crossed the void. Missiles by the thousands streaked toward the darkness. Plasma cannons fired. Experimental weapons that bent physics itself activated. The assault was magnificent, representing the greatest military power the galaxy had ever assembled. The attack struck the Void-born directly. For a moment, brilliant light filled the space where the creature floated. Explosions bloomed like flowers. The shockwave should have torn the being apart. But when the light faded, the Void-born remained. Unchanged. Unharmed. It had absorbed every attack, feeding on the energy itself. Again? Aaron shouted. Keep firing. Wave after wave of attacks poured forth. But each assault only seemed to make the creature larger. It was feeding on their weapons, growing stronger with each shot. The terrible truth became clear. They could not hurt it. Physical force meant nothing to a being made of pure entropy. The Void-born's voice filled their minds again, now sounding amused. Is this all you offer? Primitive weapons? Finite energy? I have consumed galaxies. Your resistance feeds me. One of its tentacles lashed out impossibly fast. It struck a Horathi battleship, and the vessel simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Not exploded. It was erased from reality as if it had never been. Panic rippled through the fleet. Ships began breaking formation. Some tried to run. Others fired wildly in desperation. The unity they had barely achieved started crumbling. Hold position. Aaron commanded, broadcasting to all vessels. If we scatter, we die separately. Our only chance is together. But doubt spread like poison. How could unity help against something that could erase them from existence? Then a familiar voice filled the communication channels. The ancient they had met in the void sector, weak but still present. Commander Hale, physical weapons cannot harm it. Only consciousness united can push back the darkness. You must attempt the resonance now before more are lost to fear. Aaron turned to his science officer. Is the resonance network ready? The officer, a young woman named Dr. Lisa Park, nodded nervously. As ready as it can be. Every ship has installed the synchronization equipment. We can link all conscious beings in the fleet into a single network. But sir, the simulations show we need absolute unity. If anyone breaks the connection with negative emotions, the whole thing fails. Then we'll have to trust each other, Aaron said. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All commanders, all crew members, everyone listening. This is our moment. We cannot win with weapons. We must win with what makes us alive. Our consciousness, our will, our hope. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. I know many of you hate each other. I know there are centuries of violence between your species. I know some of you blame others for terrible crimes. His voice softened. I blame the Kael'thar. I wanted vengeance for what they did to Lena. That anger woke this creature. But I'm choosing differently now. I choose to believe we can be better than our worst moments. Choose to believe that life, any life, is worth fighting for. The Kael'thar Admiral's voice came through, surprising everyone. The human speaks wisdom we ignored. Our pride led to cruelty. Cruelty led to this. If we survive, my people will remember humility. He paused. For whatever it is worth, I am sorry. Sorry for the child. Sorry for all the pain we caused. Silence followed. Then one by one, other voices joined. A Horathi commander, we too have committed atrocities in the name of strength. We were wrong. A Luminari captain, we witnessed injustice and did nothing. We share the blame. Even as Etherian elder, we are old and thought ourselves wise. But we allowed the young to suffer for our failures. Across the fleet, species that had fought for millennia began speaking words never before heard. Apologies. Regrets. Acknowledgements of shared pain. The words were small, fragile things. But they carried weight. Aaron felt something shift in the air. A lightness where there had been heaviness. Dr. Park, activate the resonance network. Yes, sir. Everyone clear your minds. Focus on a single thought. Not hatred of the enemy. Not fear of death. Focus on why you want to live. Why existence matters. The network activated. Millions of minds connected across the fleet. At first it was chaos. Too many thoughts, too many emotions, too many differences. The connection wavered, nearly breaking. Then Aaron thought of Lena. Not of her death, but of her life. Her smile as she watched the stars. her wonder at the universe, her belief in hope and beauty. He projected that memory into the network. And others added their own. A Kael'thar scientist remembered her daughter's first words. A Horathi warrior remembered his brother's laughter. A Luminari pilot remembered the birth of her world's son. A Zetharian elder remembered the first time his people reached for the stars. Memories of life, of love, of moments worth protecting. The network stabilized. Millions of minds focused on a single thought. Life is precious. Life matters. Life will endure. Energy began building. Not the energy of weapons but something deeper. The combined consciousness of millions of beings, all wanting the same thing. To exist. To protect. To survive. Not for themselves alone but for each other. The Void-born sensed the shift. Its amusement vanished, replaced by something that might have been concern. What are you doing? The energy grew brighter. It spread from ship to ship, connecting them all in a web of light. The light was warm, alive, everything the Void-born was not. Aaron's voice resonated through the network, amplified by millions. We are life. You are entropy. We choose existence. We choose each other. We choose hope. The light erupted outward in a wave that made their weapons look like candles compared to the sun. It struck the Void-born directly, and for the first time the creature recoiled. Where the light touched it, the darkness burned away like fog in sunlight. No. The Void-born's voice was no longer amused. Was afraid. This is not possible. Divided species cannot unite. We were divided, Aaron said, his consciousness merged with millions of others. But we learned. Pain taught us. Loss taught us. A little girl's death taught us that every life matters. Even one small light can push back great darkness. The wave of consciousness intensified. More beings joined the network. Not just those in the fleet but others across the galaxy who had heard the call. Civilians on distant worlds. Families in their homes. Children dreaming of better futures. Billions added their small lights to the growing fire. The Void-born thrashed desperately, trying to escape. But the light surrounded it completely. Slowly, impossibly, the creature began shrinking. The tear in space started closing. Reality repaired itself where it had been broken. You cannot end me, the Void-born shrieked. I am eternal. I am inevitable. No, came the ancient's voice, weak but filled with satisfaction. You are entropy. And entropy can only win when life gives up. These beings choose not to surrender. They choose each other over hatred. Unity over division. Light over darkness. The wave of consciousness compressed, pushing the Void-born back toward the closing tear. The creature fought with desperate strength, but it was losing. Starving. The unity of millions provided no negative emotions for it to feed on. Only determination. Only hope. With a final, shrieking roar that echoed across dimensions, the Void-born was forced back through the tear. Reality sealed behind it. The darkness vanished as if it had never been. The resonance network slowly dissolved. Millions of consciousnesses separated, returning to individual minds. But something had changed. Everyone who had been part of the network remembered the connection. They had felt what others felt. Understood what others understood. Shared thoughts with former enemies and found them not so different after all. On the Revenant's bridge, Aaron opened his eyes. His crew did the same, looking at each other with new understanding. They had touched the minds of aliens they once feared. And found them beautiful. Communications lit up across the fleet. Not with battle reports or tactical updates, but with something else entirely. This is the Kael'thar flagship. We stand ready to discuss lasting peace with all species present. Horathi Battle Group acknowledging. We wish to speak of cooperation, not conquest. Luminari vessels offering our technology freely to help rebuild what was lost. Zetharian Science Council proposing a new galactic assembly, where all species have equal voice. Aaron smiled, feeling tears on his cheeks. They had won. Not through superior firepower or tactical brilliance, but through something the galaxy had forgotten was possible. Unity. Colonel Chin approached him, also smiling through tears. Sir, Earth is requesting communication. They want to know what happened. Aaron straightened his uniform. Tell them the truth. Tell them that humanity didn't save the galaxy alone. We did it together with former enemies who became allies. Tell them that a little girl's death nearly destroyed everything, but her memory helped save it all. Tell them that Lena's legacy isn't vengeance. It's hope. Epilogue. 3 months later, the first session of the new Galactic Assembly convened. Representatives from every species gathered not in the old council chambers, but in a new station built cooperatively by dozens of civilizations. The station orbited a beautiful star, and at its center stood a memorial. A statue of a young girl, looking up at the stars with wonder and hope. The plaque beneath reads simply, Lena. Age 14. She believed in the galaxy. Let us prove her right. Commander Aaron Hale attended the ceremony along with Captain Vexthor, the Kael'thar who had ordered the attack. Vexthor had been tried and found guilty, but his sentence was not execution. Instead, he would spend the rest of his life serving others, helping rebuild what he had destroyed, teaching future generations about the cost of cruelty. As they stood before the statue, Vexthor spoke quietly. I took a life of hope and nearly doomed the galaxy. How does one repay such a debt? Aaron looked at the statue, at Lena's face frozen in bronze, forever young, forever hopeful. By making sure her belief in the galaxy wasn't misplaced. By building the future she dreamed of.